Are you worried about staying warm when the power goes out? Before we dive in, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and make sure to hit that notification bell so you never miss out on practical tips like these. You won't believe how people kept entire houses and bunkers warm during the Second World War without electricity or modern systems. When you dig into wartime manuals, engineering reports and quartermaster notes from the Second World War, one thing becomes immediately clear. People didn't rely on electricity, propane or modern heaters to survive freezing winters. Civilians, soldiers and field engineers had to extract every bit of heat from whatever resources they had, and they succeeded in ways that remain astonishingly effective today. The methods weren't gimmicks or clever hacks. They were born out of necessity and grounded firmly in physical laws. Fuel shortages, destroyed infrastructure and sub-zero fronts meant that anyone who ignored these principles simply froze. Historians and engineers alike recognized just how efficient these low-tech heating solutions were. They worked because they relied on thermal mass, convection, reflection, and controlled combustion, forces that never fail when the power grid collapses. Today, I'm going to break down 7 World War II heating methods that were used to warm homes, bunkers, and improvised shelters, methods that cost nothing once established and remain fully functional for anyone who values independence and reliability. The shrouded radiator method turned a single heater into a whole-room air engine. In Britain and parts of Europe, one of the most effective wartime techniques involved a simple shroud around a radiator. By placing a thin metal or wooden shield behind and slightly around the radiator, homeowners forced warm air to rise in a vertical channel. This accelerated the convection current and allowed heat to reach stairwells and adjoining rooms without additional fuel. Field guides from the era praised this method because it multiplied the effective warmth of one heat source. To replicate it today, bend a sheet of thin metal into an L shape and place it behind a radiator or space heater. Warm air will move upward and outward rather than just pooling against the wall. And in homes with stairwells or high interior openings, this single alteration can noticeably warm an entire upper level with no extra energy. Reflector plates reclaimed wasted heat that would otherwise be lost to walls. Blackout winters demanded extreme efficiency. The British government encouraged families to mount reflective metal plates behind every heater, from coal stoves to small candle heaters. Modern survivors can recreate this effect using an emergency blanket mounted to cardboard behind any heat source. You'll instantly feel heat moving forward into the room instead of disappearing into walls, a principle as reliable now as it was during the London blackouts. Improvised stone mass heaters stored heat long after the flame died. Direct flame produces immediate warmth but loses it almost instantly. Soldiers in dugouts and civilians in bombed-out houses learned that surrounding a small heat source with stone, brick or concrete created a thermal battery. This method was one of the most effective strategies for heat conservation during the war. Today, you can replicate it by placing candles or an alcohol stove inside a ring of bricks or a Dutch oven. The thermal mass stabilizes room temperature and reduces fuel use, proving that mass and conduction often outperform raw firepower. Layered wool and newspaper insulation dramatically cut heat loss. During wartime rationing, upgrading a furnace was impossible. Instead, households focused on preventing heat from escaping. Guides from Britain and Scandinavia consistently recommended packing wool closest to living spaces and newspaper behind it. For modern application, packing newspaper into garbage bags and placing them in window gaps, then hanging a thick blanket in front, reproduces the same effect quickly and cheaply. Floor-level cold air pulls amplified the efficiency of any heat source. One of the counterintuitive lessons of wartime engineering was that controlling cold air was often more important than producing more warm air. Modern survivors can mimic this by positioning a heater near a floor vent or doorway gap. The convection loop completes, heat circulates efficiently, and the room warms faster than with heat left trapped near the ceiling. Creating a warm microclimate with curtains and heavy fabrics made tiny heaters far more effective. During harsh winters, families often clustered in one room and used thick curtains, blankets and carpets to seal off the space from the rest of the cold house. This wasn't just retreating, it was an intentional microclimate strategy. Civil defense manuals even included diagrams showing how to hang curtains across hallways to isolate heat. Today, hanging a heavy blanket across a doorway or hallway accomplishes the same effect, concentrating the warmth of a single stove or heater and drastically reducing heat loss. Multi-point candle heaters transformed small flames into consistent, radiant warmth. Soldiers, partisans and civilians alike discovered that multiple small flames under a metal pot could radiate far more heat than the candles alone. Modern experiments with 4 tea lights under a clay pot, elevated on bricks, recreate this effect, providing steady radiant warmth for hands, boots or small rooms. This principle, employed in ration-based field heating, proves the enduring reliability of simple physics over complex machinery. These World War II heating methods remain relevant because they never depend on modern infrastructure. What makes these techniques remarkable is their resilience. None rely on electricity, digital controls, or fuel guarantees. Applying them today, whether during storms, outages, or off-grid living, can save fuel, money, and most importantly, keep you warm when all else fails. For survivalists, historians, or anyone interested in practical ingenuity, these methods are priceless. Convection, reflection, thermal mass, and insulation never fail. If you want more real, field-tested survival knowledge and historical insights that outperform modern systems, subscribe to Warfront Survival, share this video, and help preserve the techniques and lessons that history almost forgot.